So I have my smoker and hive tool. I usually have a rock on top of the hive that just holds the lid down. We'd hate for the lid to leave during a cold weather. And I mentioned anytime above 50 degrees. If you're going to check a hive when it's 50 degrees, you want to make a very brief inspection. You want to find out what you need to find out and get the hive closed back up. More preferably low wind, sunny day in the 60s, 70s, 80s. That's better for a hive inspection. This is a strong colony. It's got 2 deeps, a medium, a couple supers full of honey up here. It's ready for honey harvest. But we're going to look through here and show you some of the components of the hive. I may smoke a little at the entrance around here. Smoke a little under the bottom if I have a screen bottom board. That kind of lets the bees know I'm coming. Then I use the tool to pry the lid. If you get a crack like that, it's good to pause for a moment. Give it a pause and let those bees adjust to that loud snap you just made. And then with my smoker in hand, I raise the lid, put a little smoke under that lid, and let those bees have a few seconds to adjust to that and begin for that smoke to begin working. And when I take the lid off, I like to have room to place that. At least one hive's width beside the hive. If I place that lid or telescoping top upside down, now when I take a super off, this is one of our supers, I have somewhere to place it. So that's really important. This hive has a ventilated inner cover for the heat of summer. Ventilated meaning screened, so the bees can get a lot of airflow through the hive. So I'm moving carefully and deliberately. There's a lot of bees on this screened inner cover. So my technique, so that when I place that back I don't crush bees, is I take that to the front of the hive and just give it a shake, and those bees will move back in. Now I can place this out of my way. And I noted on this that it was full, so I know this is going to be a heavy super. So think about your lifting position. Use my hive tool to pry these supers loose. And you know, use proper lifting techniques. These boxes can be really heavy when they're full of honey. They'll definitely hurt you. At this height, I don't know if there is a proper lifting technique. Bend the knees. So that's got about 50 pounds of honey in it. Pretty heavy. Massive population of bees in this hive. You can see all the bees here on these honey frames. Typically I don't have a need to inspect a honey frame. What we do is we have a brood chamber here. This is not exactly a typical setup. A brood chamber and a medium, another brood chamber. And we have a queen excluder here. Queen excluder is a metal grid that keeps her from making it into our honey supers. And that way we only have honey in these boxes and don't have to worry about brood. Personally, that helps me out when I'm harvesting honey. I don't have to worry about brood or larvae in the honey. Who wants high protein honey? Delicacy in some countries, but around here we tend to go for the straight honey. So I don't have to worry about my queen being in this box because of the excluders. If I want to really inspect what's going on in the brood nest and show you some brood, worker bees, drones, and possibly the queen, we're going to need to remove the honey supers first. So I'm careful not to damage my woodenware any more than possible as I pry this loose. Work from the corners. There's a rim of propolis right there. Propolis is what bees gather from plants. It's a resinous substance that's got antibacterial, antifungal properties. It's got a really nice spicy smell. There's some propolis here on the tops of the frames. Sticky, gummy resin. There's actually some research, ongoing research in various types of cancer They're finding that it shrinks tumors in various types of cancer. And they've even been treating basal cells and melanomas with propolis. A little twisting motion. So as I place this, I'm careful to, as heavy as it is, you can only be so careful, but I'm careful to set it in place and twist and not crush a lot of bees on the surface of the box, on this surface here. Here you can see a lot of propolis. There's a rim of propolis around the top edge of the hive. So if I just want to collect a little for my use, I can take the freshest stuff right off the top. That's a good reason not to paint this top edge of your box if you're going to collect propolis, because you don't want paint in what you're harvesting. So there's a, if you did that several times through the course of the season, you'd end up with quite a bit of propolis. You can make tincture with it. It's good for tooth and gum issues. You can make a throat gargle. It's really good for a sore throat. But if you're really going to harvest it on any scale, there's actually a Propolis Trap. It's a grid that you place on the hive. You lift the lid a little so that light comes in, and the bees want to shut that light out, and they'll propolize that grid, and you can harvest the propolis off of the grid. If you're stung, it's really important, as the bee leaves its stinger, it becomes disemboweled and eventually dies, because that stinger is barbed. This is predominantly with mammals, which are probably the worst predators for bees. If you need to remove a stinger, use your hive tool like this or the back of your fingernail to flick the stinger out. There's still a muscle pumping poison from the venom gland into your body, and if you pinch and grab at that stinger like this, you're basically just pushing down the syringe and giving yourself the full dose. So it's important to remove it with a flicking motion of the fingernail or the hive tool instead of a pinching motion. The swifter you remove a stinger, the less reaction you'll have too, because less venom is getting pumped into your system. So let's show you what a nice capped frame of honey looks like out of one of these supers here. These supers are full of bees. These bees are being very receptive. If they were aggressive, I wouldn't be able to move my hand over the hive like that. But notice I'm not making quick jerky movements, very slow, deliberate. So I can pry a little with the hive tool here and loosen this frame up. And this tool has a bend in it that allows you to lift a frame by prying on the frame next to it. And when you lift a frame, you want to come straight up, slowly and deliberately, so as not to crush a lot of bees. And this is a beautiful frame of capped honey. This is predominantly linden or basswood honey, and I know that just because of the timing of when these bees were making this crop. When you're harvesting honey, you want to find honey that's predominantly capped. Bees gather nectars that are anywhere from 30 to 90% water, and for it to ripen into honey and become stable to where it won't ferment, it needs to be between below 18.6% moisture. So they fan their wings over this while it's in open cells until they get it down to 18.6 or less, and then they put this wax capping over it. If I remove that capping, you can see the liquid honey inside. And that's ripe honey. So the general rule is, as long as the honey is about 70–80% capped, if there's a little uncapped around the edges, your moisture content's probably fine. If you're in a really humid, wet, tropical type of environment, or the deep south in a rainy year, even capped honey sometimes can be right on the verge. So you don't want to harvest a crop and have it ferment. Now you can intentionally ferment honey and make a really nice drink called mead, but you don't want to do it unintentionally. So the best way for insurance is to use a refractometer. It's an instrument you can use to test the moisture content of honey, and then you're sure of the moisture content. But once it's at 18.6 and it's sealed, honey will last for thousands of years. So when I replace this frame, I'm going to replace it in the same direction. Here where you can get a better view. There's bees on it. I'm careful not to bump it into the end walls this way and this way. Drop it down nice and easy. If you're slow, the bees have time to move out of the way. And there we go. I don't think we crushed a single bee there. So it's all about handling. So let's get down to where there's some business. We'll try to find some brood down here and maybe show you some drones and a queen.